perfect bark, perfect cook. Jiggly, jiggly, jiggly. It's exactly what you want. You want all that fat rendered. Amazing. Well, let's have a taste. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Gerardo Grills. My name is Gerardo. Today I'm going to be making some beef ribs, but not the beef back ribs I've already made. We're going to be making some beef short ribs. I'm talking beef dino ribs, like the kind Fred Flintstone would be so proud to eat. These ribs are going to be so delicious. I promise you're going to want to run out and do them right away. We're going to be smoking it using the Bradley P10 you see right here behind me, using some mesquite and some cherry wood. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Are you ready to get going? Let's go. Alright, here we go. So I've got a full plate rib here. Now this is one of those huge dino rib bones. Let's see, here's how it came from my butcher. Lots of fat, and the top has a big fat cap on it. But you can also see here that we've got a nice, lots of marbling underneath that fat cap. So this is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's what you're looking for. Now some of this fat cap can look a little funky, but let's not worry about that because we're going to take it all off. This is going to take a little bit of time, so take your time doing this because this is really important. You want to make sure you get all the fat and the silver skin off, or as much of it as you can. And don't chintz out. It's okay if you take a little bit of the fat or the meat on the top. We're going to be okay. There's still plenty of meat left. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this up. I'll speed it up for you guys, but let's get started. Okay, and there you have it. So this took a little bit of time. There's also, as you can see, there's quite a bit of fat that got taken out of here. Big pockets of fat all throughout here. There was a big one on the top here, one that kind of goes deep down in this side. You certainly don't have to go to this extent to trim it. You can just kind of trim it so that it's flat all the way across. You'll end up with some fat on here. Not all of it is going to render, but the majority is not going to, so it'll stay there. You'll have quite a bit of fat within it, but it'll look a lot cleaner than what this looks like. For me, I like to just get down right down to the meat so that all of the meat gets some of the seasoning and so that it all gets some of the smoke. So I chose to take it all mostly down, and that's pretty much it. On the flip side, nothing to do here. We're going to season this lightly, but not a huge amount here. There is a membrane here to take out. We're not going to do that. The membrane is going to help keep these bones together as it cooks, and when we go to eat them, the membrane's easy to take off, and it's also not as tough as it can be on some of the pork ones, and definitely worth keeping on there. So to season it, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a binder. I'm going to flip it over on this side here. And I'm going to start with some Worcestershire sauce. You don't have to use a binder, of course, as I always tell you in all my videos. This is completely optional. For me on beef, that's just what I've always done, Worcestershire sauce, or maybe a little bit of hot sauce, and not necessary. Just a little bit to get it going. And then I'm going to hit it with a little bit of the Tailgater's Party Rub. This is kind of good peppery rub. Works really well on beef. Just a light coating. You don't really need to go too heavy on it because this is the underside. You're not really going to be eating this. You want to save some of your rub for the meat. My second rub that I'm going to be using is Meat Church Holy Cow. This has a lot of pepper in it as well and also adds good color. I'm going to flip her over and do it again. Now on this side, we're going to go a little heavier on the rub because we want this to form our bark. So I'm going to go a little heavier on the tailgaters. And there you have it. Now you've hit all sides. In my case, I'm not going to cook this until tomorrow, so I'm going to wrap this in plastic wrap, throw it back in my fridge, because this is going to take about 10 to 11 hours to cook. So I won't have time to do this today, so I wanted to prep it the night before so that tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll be able to pop it into the smoker. I'll show you when we're ready to do that. All right, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning here. I've got the smoker rolling at 250 degrees with some mesquite and some cherry wood. We're gonna let this roll in here for about 5.5 hours or so until my bark is set properly. I'm not gonna spritz or anything, just gonna let it go, and I'll come back and give it a wrap using some butcher paper. I'll show you when we're ready to do that. All right, we're about 3.5 hours in, and this is looking perfect. Have a look at that. The bark is looking pretty good. Internal temperature is currently showing at about 170-ish degrees. I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. I want a little bit darker color on that before I wrap. So you can see there's quite a bit of pooling here that happens from all the kind of fat pockets that were there. And so I wasn't really too worried about removing that. There's still quite a bit of fat intermuscular in that meat. So looking pretty good. Bone pullback is looking great, as you can see there. And check out this bark. So nothing comes off when I scratch it. That's looking mighty good. So it's almost wrap time. I'm just gonna let it go a little bit longer so I can get a little bit of a darker color and kind of dry off some of these spots here, and we'll be ready to go. I'll show you when we wrap. All right, so here we go. As you can see, show you the ribs here. Just looking beautiful, nice dark mahogany color. Obviously a lot of that fat kind of pooling on top, but that's perfect. This is looking great. That bark is fully set. Nothing's kind of coming off when I scratch at it. So we're good to wrap. So let's give her. All right, so let's give her a wrap. I did remove one bone here, is the one that was sticking out this way. It just made it harder for me to wrap, but I don't need it anymore. This is great. These 3 bones are doing a fantastic job of hanging on to this meat. So I think it was the one on this side. So, but we're good there. So we're just gonna go ahead and give this a go. We're set there. I'm gonna put my probe back in. Just gonna feel for one of the thickest parts in the meat and just slide my probe back in. And I'm gonna put it back in there, and I'm gonna let this go until we get an internal temperature of about 205 degrees. Once I'm there, then we're going to come and check it for tenderness. I'll show you when we're ready to do that. All right, here we go. So my probe has given me an alarm. We're at about 205 degrees. You can see here, looking nice, pretty juicy all over, all the juice from the meat. I'm not gonna really rip it all open or try to take it apart. I can see there's quite a bit of fat still dripping. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a instant read probe. And I'm gonna go in here just because there's a hole already here for where my probe is, but if I just kind of slide it in and out, there should be 0 resistance or very little resistance anyway. You want to probe kind of in between the bones, and it should be, again, very little to no resistance whatsoever. Everywhere you go, it should go in and out really easily. So that's ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and take that out of here, and then I'm gonna let it rest in a cooler. In my case, I'm gonna be using a Cambro insulated go box. If you don't have one of those, you just use a regular cooler. Make sure it's dry, no ice in it, obviously. Throw it in there on a sheet pan and throw some towels over top just to make sure you keep the heat in. I'm gonna throw this in my Cambro, and let's say let it rest for a minimum of 45 minutes to an hour. I'm gonna let this rest for about an hour and a bit, and then come back, and then we'll give it a slice. See you then. Well, all right, here we go. Now we're all set. These ribs, we took them out of the smoker and we let them rest for an hour and about 20 minutes or so. Their internal temperature is still at about 160 degrees. You can see here, absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous bark, just beautiful, nice and tender. Looks so darn good. So let's cut into it. Let's see what's going on. All right. Look at this. Whoa. It's like a brisket on a stick here. Absolutely amazing. Super jiggly. You can see that. Hopefully you can see it. Just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I'll flip this one over. Look at that. The fat perfectly rendered through all the way. So good. Perfect bark. Perfect cook. Jiggly, jiggly, jiggly. It's exactly what you want. You want all that fat rendered. Amazing. Let's have a taste. Incredibly tender. You know, there's plenty of fat in there, lots of juices, but not gristly fat, because all that internal fat all rendered down. It had time to render in and kind of infuse the meat with all those juices. The bark, perfectly hard, perfectly crusted, but not tough to eat. Smoky, just the right amount of smoke in here. We smoked for about, I think it was about 5.5 hours. I think we had it set for 6 hours, but we wrapped it a little bit earlier than that. And then we continued to cook in butcher paper, which then saved that bark. I mean, you can wrap in foil as well, speeds it up a lot more. And you can still save the bark as well if you use foil. I had some butcher paper on hand that I wanted to try using. And here we are, and you can see the results on that bark. Absolutely perfect. Peppery from all the seasoning. That meat church holy cow rub that's in it really comes through. That pepper, also from the party rub that we use. Amazing. Salty. Brisket on a stick. The best part of brisket, the point on a stick with a handle. I don't know how you go wrong with this. If you haven't done beef dino ribs like these ones, I'm telling you, you need to do it because they're so good. Fall apart. Just perfect. And look at them. They look cool. Well, that's all I got for you today. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to see more, make sure you hit the subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any content. If you want to see more of me, head on over to my channel. I'm at youtube.com/GerodGrills and check out all my content there. Until next time, I'll catch you on the next Gerard Grills.